I think we're getting down to it's getting thin here. So I'm wondering how many more you have. Who's your next one?
Okay, I have. I mean, I put a few on here to be nice, but there's still a couple teams that I legitimately believe in, and I
I've
honestly,
got three more. I have three more that are like firmly on my list. I have
okay,
10.
I think I had 12, and I threw two on there. I threw two on there at the end just to be nice. Um, but okay, if you took Dallas, then I'll say Minnesota.
Okay.
Um,
They're on there for me.
it's I actually look. I mean, if the Vikings had any other quarterback, don't you think you would feel so much better about who they are and where they're going? Like, is that fair to say? That's how I feel. It's really it's the closest thing I can come up with to a concern is just the meme of Kirk Cousins just not flourishing in the spotlight.
Yeah, he's not any other quarterback. Like I think Kirk Cousins is probably like the 13th best quarterback in the league. I really don't want to list them off right now, and I already regret actually throwing a number on it. But Kirk Cousins is a fine NFL quarterback. I think if this team had a borderline elite quarterback, it would be a different conversation because we would just get more out of this passing offense. You get more out of Justin Jefferson, all that. Kirk Cousins is good enough to pilot you to like a borderline top 10 offense. And I think that ultimately could be where they end up by the end of the season here. They're on my list for a few different reasons. One, I think that having Justin Jefferson and now having Hawkinson in the mix, even with Kirk Cousins, they have the pieces to be like a borderline top 10 passing team. And I think that's really important. They've been middle of the road for most of this season because they've struggled to find explosive plays in the passing game. And we talked about this on Sunday night with Mitch. Cousins being more willing to push the ball downfield and saying, this is a 50-50 ball for Justin Jefferson. I'm going to let him go get it. That's what I want to see. That's the version of the Vikings that I want to see. And I think them being willing to lean into that and then having Hawkinson in, again, on 3rd and 8, when teams are playing man coverage against you, do you have more than one guy that becomes an option for you? And now I think that they do. I think that that's why they made the move. So I feel much better about their passing game than I did 3 weeks ago. And to improve play along the offensive line, if they just played better along the interior against Buffalo than I expected them to, that was the number one concern for me with them over the first half of the season, was what they were doing along the interior of the offensive line, because it was rough for huge stretches. If they can get mildly better play from that group, I feel much better about their passing game overall. And then the biggest thing on defense, their front can win you a game.
Yep.
I don't know if they can do it for multiple games at a time. The combination of Zadarius Smith, Hunter, Tomlinson, when he gets back, he's just been out for the last couple of weeks, and the Harrison Phillips, guys like that, I still think that they can be enough. And they were in that Buffalo game. They had some huge moments in that Buffalo game, not sacks or anything like that, but affecting the game consistently. So if you have an elite pass rush and your passing game can get hot because you have arguably the best receiver in the world for stretches, then I do think that they can do this. And I also think that they're helped by the fact that it's very possible that the Vikings get the number 1 seed in the NFC. Like, their schedule is awful. So if they're hosting 2 games in the postseason, it makes the path much, much easier. So I do think that they're not as good as a lot of the teams that we listed ahead of them on here, in my opinion. But I think that they have the components and the route to theoretically do this. So I think they have to be on this list.
And I mean, I guess that's why I asked the question about Kirk. Is it's funny, like the Vikings are a way more complete team than Baltimore, for instance. Like Baltimore is just a good example for me because again, they're piecing it together with what they can get out of how good Lamar Jackson is. But like you look at the supporting cast and you're like, oh man, I don't know about this. The Vikings, on paper, the Vikings have it all. I really like. It's hard to. I mean, everything you just said. There are weaknesses there. The offensive line can be a problem. Honestly, I'll be curious to see how well the defense holds up just from an age perspective. I mean,
The back end is not great.
You're
Like, Patrick
getting
Peterson's having a good year, but it
he
still is a
is.
concern.
It is. I mean, it's like Senior Citizens Day for the Vikings with the number of like guys over the age of 30 that are making big contributions. But even still, like it's a very complete roster. Like really, if I trusted Kirk Cousins more, I probably would have said I would have had the Vikings like 4th on this list. In all honesty, so yeah, I mean, it's I can see it. I can see the vision. I can see the vision.
And Cam Dantzler is going to miss a stretch of games. I don't think he's out for the season, but it does sound like he's on IR, so he's going to miss at least the next 3 after missing the Buffalo game. And their secondary, I think, was thin to begin with. They've got some young guys that they can throw in there, but they're relying on a lot of older dudes, and I think it's pretty precarious on the back end. But I do think the pass rush is very good.
I just want to say, too, like, he's not going to win it because Geno Smith is out there and Saquon Barkley's out there. But, like, Zadarius Smith, like, mentioning him for comeback player of the year, at least. You talk about basically missing all of last season, Green Bay telling you to pack your bags, and then he goes to a division rival on purpose. And, like, it's just like, what an amazing decision that was. Like, a lot of times when a guy signs with a division rival to spite his old team, a lot of times it doesn't really go that well. Meanwhile, Zadarius Smith is, he's over 30, like, leading the league in sacks. He's going to hit double-digit sacks any day now. Like that. I mean, what an awesome season for him. Way to go, dude.
This was the Athletic Football Show.